Welcome back, guys. After living with Manjaro for about a week or so, there are several things that stand out for me, and I'm amazed actually that I waited so long to try it. But nevertheless, I am enjoying it right now, and so I wanted to make you aware of the top five things that I feel warrant everyone at least trying Manjaro and comparing it to what you're using now, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. A lot of the horror stories about arch installations are just not relevant to a Manjaro install. It is very simple, intuitive. I haven't had any problems no matter what Manjaro distribution I've tried to install. So I just wanted to bring a few things to your attention so that you may elect to give it a try just to see what it's like. So, number five reason would be stability. I have not been able to make this thing crash. I've thrown everything at it, my Broadcom Wi Fi drivers, my NVIDIA drivers, my computer with built in graphics. Nothing has made this hiccup. And so that kind of surprised me because I had heard about some stability issues, but you can't prove it by me. I just have not had any stability issues at all. So, stability is a big factor in what distribution you decide to use. And I think you'd be happy with the stability of Manjaro. Okay, number four is the variety in desktops. Now, if you go into the Manjaro website, you'll see that they have basically XFCE. They've got some test bills for XFCE. They've got a KDE install and some test bills for KDE, a different build. It's kind of like a beta. It's a release candidate. Then you've got the Net Edition, which comes without pre-installed display managers, desktop environment, or any desktop software applications. So basically, it installs the basic Manjaro base installation and lets you build it from the ground up, which many of you may enjoy. I haven't tried that option yet, but at some point I will. Now, if you go in, those are the main flavors of Manjaro. If you go into the stable repository or the community repository and click on community, you'll see that there are many other flavors available. Fluxbox, LXQT, LXDE, GNOME, Netbook, OpenBox i3, Cinnamon, PEC Mate, Enlightenment. Now, I've tried Fluxbox, LXQT, LXDE, and Cinnamon. Those are the ones I've tried. All of them have performed well. Right now, I am on my desktop computer running integrated graphics, and I have this is my Fluxbox install with XFCE secondary desktop environment installed. And right now I'm in the XFCE desktop environment. And I think I mentioned before, I'm going to keep Fluxbox and XFCE so that I can learn Fluxbox and use XFCE because I'm so familiar with it. But I really like the power of Fluxbox. It is different and very, very much different, but I enjoy that, and I'm enjoying learning about configuring Fluxbox because it's entirely different from a desktop environment standpoint. It's entirely different than most of the things that I'm used to. So I'll be using that over the next 3 or 4 weeks, just learning it. So that's my number four, a reason for trying Manjaro. Now, number three basically boils down to the community. There are distributions that have tremendous communities where you can go for help. Their forums are uh, very much alive and vibrant and loaded with people who care a great deal about the distribution. And I will mention Linux Lite and Peppermint OS 6. Those two, those are two of my favorite distributions. Uh, Probably my two favorite in Ubuntu, as far as Ubuntu flavored distributions, and their communities are outstanding. But the Manjaro community, because I think it's larger, you're able to get answers much quicker, and they're populated with extremely knowledgeable people who are more than willing to help. Now, you're not going to get any holier than thou people populating the community as you might find within other types of distributions. They are more than willing to help. They point you in the right direction. They'll let you know where the information is so that you can look it up and take a good look at it, read through it, and get comfortable with it. Every question that I've put up has been answered intelligently and accurately. And so that is my number three reason for Manjaro's uh, attractiveness. I really enjoy interfacing with the community, and I think you would too. You'd get a lot out of it, and it would really shorten your learning curve as far as Manjaro is concerned. And the learning curve in Manjaro is no more difficult than Ubuntu or Debian. It's easier than Debian, and it's no more difficult than Ubuntu. It's just a matter of getting used to some differences. And I think the differences make Manjaro more attractive. Okay, so that's three. Now, number two is gaming. Now, in a lot of distributions, especially on this computer, which has integrated graphics, I'm not able to install BattleNet and get my favorite Hearthstone game going. With Manjaro, I had no issues at all, no difficulty at all. Also, Steam games, Linux Steam games run very well on Manjaro. Had no problem at all installing Steam, configuring Steam, and getting my Steam games to run. So, gaming is important. I think most of us have some favorite games. To some people, gaming would be their number one reason for using Manjaro. It depends on where gaming falls within the scheme of your preferences. But for me, because I've had trouble getting BattleNet games to run in the past, I gave that a number two. But it's really no more or less important than stability, the variety of desktops, and the Manjaro community. So that is number two. Number one, in my opinion, is the package manager. Now, as I mentioned before, package management within Manjaro is handled differently than Debian and Ubuntu. When I used Debian, it was more difficult. Many packages are not available in Debian unless you compile from scratch. And I'll give you an example of Simple Screen Recorder. I looked everywhere And the only way I could get Simple Screen Recorder working in Debian was to compile from scratch, which is not easy for the average Linux user to do. It's not easy for me to do. I had to follow a lot of directions. It took a while. It took probably well over an hour just to follow all the instructions and get Simple Screen Recorder working. That was in Debian. Now in Ubuntu, it's a matter of adding a few commands at the command line to add the appropriate PPA. So that way you can install Simple Screen Recorder. In Manjaro, it's even simpler than that. Now, if you go into Add Remove Software and you do a search on Simple Screen Recorder, there it is. Now I have it installed, but that's as easy as it gets. You can also do it from the command line and install it through the command line. But the package manager, or Pacman as it's known within Manjaro, as I said before, I haven't found any package that wasn't available either through the standard Arch repo or the Arch user repository or the community repository. And you can set package manager up to search both. So that way if it's available in either one, it will bring it to your attention. Now, two other packages come to mind, and there are a lot more, but I'll give you three packages that I was able to install easily using Pacman, where in Ubuntu or Debian I would have had to modify my sources list in Debian, which is not the simplest thing for the average user to do. Because if you type in one character that's incorrect, you will not be able to search or update your system. So within Debian, if you're having to modify your sources list, you can run into some problems. Within Ubuntu, it's a matter of adding a PPA, which is not the most difficult thing in the world to do, but it just generates a few extra steps that within Manjaro are not required. So if I, for example, wanted to install caffeine, which I always do, in Ubuntu I had to search and find a PPA that I could add with a version that still works within Ubuntu. Most of the newer versions of caffeine were not functioning properly within Ubuntu. I ended up finding a PPA with a modified version. Basically, it was a patched version of caffeine that ended up working fine on my computer. But within Manjaro, if you do a search on caffeine, it's actually called Caffeine NG. And there it is. I've got it installed. That works perfectly. You can see it up in my system tray up the top right. That's it right there. That little cup of coffee. When you click it, you see the little lines. That's disabling the screensaver. Click it back. Screensaver is now enabled again. It's as easy as that. So that is a time saver on caffeine. And the third program that I always have to search and do a PPA update is Kodi. And as you can see, in Kodi, everything's available. So on this computer, I don't have Kodi installed. So I will go through the install with you just to show you. And I'm not going to use the package manager. I'm going to use the command line just to show you how easy it is. So I'm going to search through the user repository, which is YAOURT minus S Cody. As simple as that. Enter your password, and it found it. So now you're just going to answer yes to a few questions, and it'll go ahead and do the install. So it's going to go locate the packages that are required, and then it will go through the installation process. Now it looks in several mirrors, and it looks like it had an issue with one of the mirrors, so it went and got it from somewhere else. So it's going to go through the installation, and it will show up in multimedia. And we'll go back and check in a moment. As soon as this is done, we'll go back and check and take a look to see if Cody is there. So it'll only take a minute or two. So guys, that's the top 5 reasons that I think you should try Manjaro, just to take a look and give it a chance so you can make a fair comparison to what you're using now. And as I said, you can get pretty much any flavor. I mean, you can do cinnamon, mate, XFCE, LXDE. They're pretty much all available, and you can't go wrong with any one of them. Now, as I said, for a new user, or and also I prefer XFCE only because I've gotten used to the layout of XFCE. Now within this package that I'm using here, as I said, it was a Fluxbox install, and I installed XFCE as a secondary desktop environment. You can see now here I don't have the new whisker menu. And so while Cody is installing, I'm going to show you how to install the whisker menu in your XFCE desktop environment. So what I do is right click on the panel, go to panel, actually go to add new items, scroll down to whisker menu, click add, close that out. Now if you look over to the right, you're going to see the whisker menu, but in most cases you don't want it on the right. So you're going to click again, panel preferences, you're going to go to items. You see the whisker menu at the bottom? Okay, the bottom is the right hand side. So if you click on whisker menu and then use this arrow, you're going to see this move across the screen, and it will get over here. As you can see, it's just moving across, and now it's where I want it to be. Now you have a choice of leaving both menus or just keeping the whisker menu. I actually leave both there because they're both useful. But if you look at the whisker menu, now it's got the categories on the right hand side, which I prefer not to have. So I'm going to show you how to move that to the left. Right click, properties, and then click on behavior. What I usually do is I check off these 4 boxes. Switch categories by hovering, position search next to panel button, position commands next to search entry, and position categories next to the panel button. And then I go down and I click on my recently used items display by default. Close it out, go over to the whisker menu, and now you have the categories on the right The categories will bring up all of the specific software packages just by hovering. You have your favorites. There's four of them right now. Recently used, which this is a new desktop environment, and so I haven't used it a lot. I just installed it today. And you can see everything is there. That's really, really nice. Now, if I take a look let's take a look at the multimedia category. There's Kodi, okay? Because it finished the install and now it's in my multimedia category. Simple as that. So I'm going to close out this terminal window and I'm going to click on Kodi. I'll go into the configuration just briefly and I'm going to window it, and I'm going to change the window size. Now, because of the internal graphics on this computer, it'll take a minute for the graphics to catch up with this window size, but you'll see it populate in just a few seconds. And that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I think that if you try out Manjaro, you'll find that everything works fine. There are no glaring issues. I haven't found any issues at all. So that's the top 5 reasons for you to try Manjaro. I hope you'll give it a try. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. That's it for this video, guys. I will see you soon. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Take care.